So the talk of the internet is the Tesla Optimus bot. He's working in a silkscreen shirt printing factory here. He's got this printed shirt that he is now going to fold. This is a major job across, not just in the silkscreen business, but also any place where clothing needs to be folded before it is put into a bag or something in order to be shipped. So you'll notice this is not 100% autonomous. It is being conducted by a party off screen there who is controlling the bot, but eventually this will be an autonomous move. So there you have it. Here is a fairly decent breakthrough in terms of the Optimus doing very, very difficult kinds of work. I would say that there's a couple, maybe three things that we should take away from this that are important. Number one would be that Tesla understands there is big business in folding clothes. And I mean that in a very sincere way. In other words, everybody keeps talking about the Optimus bot working in large factories with hundreds of employees, thousands of employees, in factories with, very substantially difficult circumstances maybe to be working in, as opposed to working in a little local shop where there might be 3, 5, 10, 20 employees that are manufacturing something or printing something. I've been talking about this for a while. That is, to me, where there's huge opportunities in these smaller industries, such as the silkscreen t-shirt business. There's also, this is proof of the Skunkworks. It's impossible to know. It looked like there might have been 4 to 6 bots in that picture. You don't know how big that facility is, whether there's more than one room, dozens of rooms where these kinds of things are going on. But at least you can see here is a situation where the bots are in this room, they're in stations, and they're being trained. And then finally, this particular situation, they were using a teleoperator as the way that they're training the bot. But of course, there's many other ways that the bot can be trained. We've seen a lot of those recently with video in and action out. We've seen where you have controllers attached to your body. That's another way. Or you can have, of course, the simulations. There are probably other ways that I'm not even aware of. Anyway, overall, just one more indication of the progress and the fact that we are months away from having a useful product that will be used in the factories, eventually used by the suppliers, and then, some of their suppliers, and then ultimately, of course, I believe they will be sold to third parties. This year, my prediction is that Pepsi will be one of those first ones, since they already have a relationship. And I think In-N-Out would be the perfect second. So anybody listening at Tesla, we should give a call to In-N-Out and see if they'd like to be the guinea pig. All right, this is Randy Kirk. Please hit like and subscribe and notify. Tomorrow morning, we have our regular programming starting in the morning after the bell at around 7:10. And then later in the day, you'll have Brian White coming on. We'll be talking about, he just got back from CES. He's got some thoughts with regard to the Roadster. Anyway, we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, and that'll be tomorrow around noon. And then in the evening, it's Nicholas Gibbs helping us to usher in Good News Tuesday. So hit notify if you want to be notified about all that. And then, what else? And then you want to buy these. You definitely want to get one of these. And then you want to join Patreon. All right, let's go on from there. Elon Musk has no current income or incentive package. The top CEO in the world isn't getting a payday. And so there's a lot of back and forth going on about that today in the Tesla sphere on X and within YouTube videos as well. So people are very concerned about this, and some people say, no, it doesn't matter. Anyway, he says, this is what Elon says about it. I am uncomfortable growing Tesla to be a leader in AI and robotics without having about 25% voting control. He says right now, or rather 25% would be enough to be influential, but not so much that I can't be overturned. So he basically is saying what he said all along. People are not really speaking to this the right way. Elon is not looking for more money. He's not looking for more stock so they can be richer. He's looking at the same situation he's talked about all along. In the area of AI and robotics, he is afraid that the wrong person with the wrong motives could create mayhem, and he doesn't want that to happen within Tesla. Right now, he has other companies where he could develop AI, where he has control, and he's not going to be able to be overturned. And then he says, I want to be influential, but not so much that I can't be overturned, but he wants to be more influential than his current levels. And so he'd like to be able to earn that amount of stock to be influential. He says, unless that is the case, I would prefer to build products outside of Tesla. You don't seem to understand that Tesla is not one startup, but a dozen. Simply look at the delta between what Tesla does and General Motors. As for stock ownership itself being enough motivation, he says, Fidelity and others own similar stakes to me. Why don't they show up for work for free? He doesn't say for free. I'm adding that. He says, he goes on to say, I should note that the Tesla board is great. The reason for no new compensation plan, and he has that in quotes, is that we're still waiting for a decision in my Delaware compensation case, where some shareholders brought a case against the board saying that Elon should not have received the kind of compensation that he did, that it was crazy amounts of compensation. And the trial for that was held in 2022, but there's no verdict yet. He says, I put compensation plan in quotes because from my standpoint, this is primarily about ensuring the right amount of voting influence at Tesla. That's what his concern is. So anyway, the argument goes on X. Some people saying, absolutely, he needs a compensation plan, blah, blah. And other people saying, what do you mean? He's got so much stock ownership. What does it matter? Hey, lots of people own lots of stock in their companies and they get paid. Anyway, Panasonic CTO Shokira Watanabe told Bloomberg in an interview that the Japan-based electronics maker aims to deliver on its promise to quadruple production capacity by 2030. And to make that happen, he said the company won't need to rely on building new factories or pouring large investments into production plans. We will expand battery capacity and improve productivity at the same time. So that would be wonderful. They are, of course, a huge supplier for Tesla in the United States. And so increasing that relationship is what Tesla wants and desires and has been working towards. Sawyer Merritt has this. Norway rescue service company Viking's Assistant Group says electric cars perform better in cold water than ice cars. In 2024 so far, most Viking missions relate to vehicles with battery problems or drivers having trouble starting their cars. Setrum noted that 13% of starting difficulties are linked to electric cars, while 87% are from fossil fuel vehicles. He added that 23% of the cars on Norwegian roads are EVs. Therefore, you have 23% of the total cars with only 13% of the starting problems. So overall, they're seeing electric cars doing a better job in the cold weather. Wall Street Journal is saying this, though the Federal Reserve stopped raising interest rates last summer, it is quietly tightening monetary policy. I don't know how you quietly tighten money policy. We talk about it all the time on this channel. So they have been shrinking its 7.7 trillion holdings of bonds and other assets by about $80 billion a month. And Larry Goldberg and I have been saying over and over again that this has to slow down or stop or even reverse. Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, that too may change. Federal officials are to start deliberations on slowing, though not ending, the so-called quantitative tightening as soon as their policy meeting this month. It could have important implications for financial markets. The Fed can shrink its holdings by selling bonds, or as it has preferred, allowing bonds to mature and just run off its balance sheet without buying new ones. The runoff increases the supply of bonds that investors must absorb, putting upward pressure on long-term interest rates. Slowing runoff reduces the upward pressure. And also there's a cash aspect to it as well. But whereas the Fed expects to cut short-term interest rates this year because inflation has fallen, its rationale for tapering bond runoff is different. It is to prevent disruption to an obscure yet critical corner of the financial markets. Policymakers have several reasons to consider slowing runoff. First, the Fed is shrinking its Treasury holdings by $60 billion a month, twice as fast as it did 5 years ago. Continuing to run at this rate raises the risk that the Fed drains reserves too quickly so that the money market rates jump as banks struggle to redistribute a dwindling supply of reserves. This is critical. Slowing the pace of the runoff later this year might allow the Fed to continue the program for longer than otherwise by reducing the likelihood that we have to stop prematurely, according to Dallas Fed President Lori Logan in a recent speech. All right, so what do we got coming up this week? First of all, we have a lot of earnings reports, but almost all of the significant earnings reports this week are banks. There are other companies, lots of companies that are doing their earnings report this week. And what I'm going to be looking for, I got to remember to look for this. Remind me in the comments if I don't see it, is that Bank of America puts out a report, I think it's late this week, where they analyze all the early earnings reports, and they can take that and they put an algorithm on that, and then they make a projection about what the overall earnings reports will look like for the entire earnings season. And last quarter, it was very accurate. I want to look for that again. Of course, I don't think that they also monitor what the various companies are saying about their expectations for the rest of the year. That would be a great thing to be able to monitor and put an algo to as well. Okay, so, and then the reports that are coming down this week include the Empire State Manufacturing Survey. If you saw my video the other day, you know that manufacturing is now down, depending on which survey you use, it's down about 14, 15 months in a row. Manufacturing is definitely the part of the economic situation that has been in recession for a very long time. And, it would be good to see it pop up or not go down as much. Well, the last month it went down 14.5%. I'm sorry, went down 14.5 points. And this month they're thinking it's going to go down 4 points. Then we have Fed Governor Christopher Waller speaking on Tuesday. That's tomorrow. Both of those are tomorrow. The Empire State Manufacturing Survey will be out in time for me to report on in the morning. We then have on Wednesday, we have the Import Price Index. This is a very, very helpful thing to look at in terms, especially of China, which is a major export partner, but Canada, Mexico also, I think, larger than China. Looking at these numbers, the survey thinks that those will be down 0.6%. Compared to last month, down 4%. So other people are exporting their lower, their devaluation, or not devaluation, their deflation from their economies. And that's good. It helps us with our inflation problem. And then on 8th, then also tomorrow morning, the import price index minus fuel. And the guess on that one is that it'll be flat. Then also tomorrow morning, we have U.S. retail sales. Last month, they were up 0.3%. This month, which will be the December report, they're expected to be up 0.4%. But if you remove autos, retail sales minus autos is only going to be up 0.2%, according to their estimates, the same as it was in November. Then we have a couple more Fed speakers tomorrow morning. So those could always impact the stock market during the day. Then in the afternoon, which I won't be able to report on until I'm with Nicholas Gibbs later in the afternoon, we have the industrial production was up 2% last month, expected to be down 0.1% this month. Capacity utilization to stay at 78.6. I'm sorry, it was 78.8 last month, so dropping down to 78.6. And business inventories, which were up last month 0.2%, to coming down this month by 0.1%. I, again, don't know if that's seasonally adjusted, but you would certainly expect inventories to come down in November, December period, although this is specifically November. So that's a very late report. In other words, it's late that they're accumulating this information. They're only talking about November. But again, November, December, if it's not seasonally adjusted, you would expect those inventories to be dropping in those months. Then later that afternoon, you get the Fed Beige Book, always an interesting thing to see what they're seeing in terms of the future, although they're almost always wrong. And then we have Fed President John Williams giving some remarks at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday. Then Thursday, we got more Fed presidents speaking in the morning. We've got the initial jobless claims. Wow, this is interesting for them not to have a guess. They always have a guess. It was last week, it was 202,000. I thought I saw someplace where they were thinking it was going to be exactly the same at 202,000. Always very interesting to see how that is progressing, as well as the continuing. I'm way more interested in the continuing jobless claims than I am the week to week. And then the Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Survey last month was down 10.5. They're expecting to be down 0.8%, 0.8 this month. So continuing to see these manufacturing situation in dire straits. Housing starts also on Thursday morning. That's expected to go from 1.56 million last month to the December of only 1.43. Now, again, don't know if it's seasonally adjusted. Also, building permits going up a little bit from 1.46 to 1.48. So I'm kind of surprised maybe to see housing starts dropping when there seems to be a lot of momentum for getting residential housing, going again. And the Atlanta Fed president, another president, speaks that afternoon. Friday, we get the Consumer Sentiment Index. That is expected to stay even at 69.7 compared to last month. And then existing home sales going up a tiny bit from 3.82 to 3.83. And that's so interesting to see housing remaining strong in the December period is not usual. We'll see whether that continues in January and February, when usually you would expect to see some softness in the market. Okay, let's check on the pre-market right now and see where things are. Might give us some idea of what to expect in the morning. And what we're seeing right now is, it popped up here for me. So yeah, it's being slow on me. Okay, let's take a look here. We have got the pre-market. We've got the Dow down 102, the NASDAQ down 61, and S&P down 14. And that would be 20, almost roughly in the 0.3% range across the board. It's a little bigger for the NASDAQ at down 0.35, the S&P down 0.30, and the Dow down only 0.26. Then if we go from that to the bonds, we've got them up almost the 10-year rather, up almost 5 basis points, 4.7 basis points. That is a little surprising, but still sitting just under 4%. So I think that's kind of become the bouncing off place, going back right around 4% for quite a while now. Then you've got everything else is also up and kind of in the same range with some differences, but almost everything up around that point, that 5 basis points. In the case of the 2-year, it's up 6, and the 2-month, it's up 5.5 basis points. Okay, let's see. Let's go on to oil. Oil has slipped back down a tiny bit. Brent's unchanged. Texas Intermediate basically unchanged, and natural gas down 8%. Up 8, down 8, up 5, down 5. Anyway, I keep looking back to check out where it is over time. And while during the COVID thing, it was going crazy, this is the price it is right now at around 0.258 is kind of, I'm sorry, that's not correct. Around 3.055. Around 3 is where it has been historically for a very long time. Then you've got gold, which is up 4, which is basically break even, 0.2% up. You've got silver, basically not much action, but copper is up almost 1%. But again, it's at very low lows. The dollar is wobbling. It's kind of right now, it's kind of not really moving that much. And you've got Bitcoin also almost unchanged. So there you have it. That's what's going on right now. Let me encourage you to join Patreon. Remember now, Patreon, I have a new category. You guys asked for it, of $3. Okay, there are no prizes or things that you can win, get as a result of joining at the $3 level. But at least you're supporting the channel. At least you're saying, Randy, thank you very much for what you're doing. It is helpful to me. It is useful. I'm getting some value, and I'd like to chip in. Okay, kind of like a tip at the restaurant. Okay, but a really, really tiny one. Would you ever tip a waiter $3? So little. Anyway, if you can do it, great. If you can get to the $5 level, you get a free one of my books on ebook, about a $14, $15, $16 value. And then if you go to all the way to the $10 level, you can have 2 of the ebooks, or you can have one of these guys, $25 value, plus one of the books, $15 value when you join at the $10 level. And sometimes I put up stuff in advance. Sometimes I try to remember to do that. And right now I've been putting up a lot of those predictions and projections up in advance. I'll be putting the 5th one that will probably come out on Thursday for the YouTube watchers. I'll probably be putting the 5th one, the last 10, up on Patreon later this afternoon on Sunday. So you get to see it for 3 or 4 days in advance. All right, let's see. I also want to remind you to, go ahead and buy these if you want, also for $25. And all that information is in the description below on how to do that if you want to get one, and you know you do. And then finally, earlier today, I did I'm sorry, over the weekend, I've been putting up I put up 40 of the 50 different videos, 40 of the 50 different predictions, prognostications, guesses about what Tesla's going to do this year, and already one of them came true. Would you look at that? In just days. So that would be the one where I said there's a Skunkworks, and we now know there's a Skunkworks. We don't know how big it is, but we obviously know that there is something going on. So take a look at those videos. I will put up 3. I'll put the second one, the third one, and the fourth one. I'll put the cards up. That's as many cards as you're allowed to put up. So take a look at those. And if you want to go see the first one, the first 10, then you'll just have to go on YouTube and find that first one. And then it seemed like there was one more thing. Oh yeah, did you like the video already? Did you subscribe? Did you notify? Yeah, do those things as well. Hey, it's been great talking to you now. And somebody said one time, you don't want to know who won the football games. So I'm not going to tell you. But the second one, at least, was almost exciting. Almost, not quite. It's Randy Kirk. It's been great talking to you.